Okay, let's take a look at part B of the same question. Part B says that the computer system will produce many printed reports. It will produce many printed reports, and one of those reports is the car report. Okay, so there might be other reports, we don't know, account reports, billing reports, whatever reports, right? But the one that we are interested in is the car report, right? And this report displays all hire data for all cars. Once again, this is very important information. It is telling us that one car report will have one car report will display. This time we are not storing, but we are displaying. This car report will display data for all cars, hire data for all cars. Okay, remember, once again we are doing a data structure diagram, so our focus is going to be on what kind of data is going to be displayed in this case. Okay, and what further information is provided here? The question says that for each car in the car report, the following data is going to be displayed. The car data is going to be displayed, right? And a list of all the hires is going to be displayed. Okay, so we're not, so he's saying that the data that is going to be displayed, most likely, information about the customer is not going to be mentioned, right? So that's the impression we are getting, because he's saying for each car hire, the following data is going to be displayed: the car data, which is basically going to be the car registration number, and a list of all the hires. And if you remember, this was what we had said, right? We had said that we had this sample value Joe, whose ID number was something like 16789 whatever, right? And then we said that the car registration number was 123, and what else? This was hired on the 1st of January 2017, and it was hired for 4 days, right? So this was our single transaction, and what he's saying is that we can have a list of hires, right, for a single car, for each car. So remember, he's talking about data that is going to be displayed about each car. For each car, the car data, which is basically the car registration number, that is going to be displayed. For each car, a list of all the hires is going to be displayed, which basically gives you what impression? Which basically tells us that there are going to be more transactions about this single car. In our case, this car is car number 123. So we'll have more transactions with more customers like John, for example, with 55675 as the ID, and let's say he hired the car on the 14th of January 2017. He hired it for 2 days, right? And then this car was hired by Elvis, right, whose ID number was 99165. His car registration number was once again the same, 123, and he hired this car on the 24th of January 2017 for 4 days, right? So we'll have multiple transactions of a single car in our file whenever this car gets hired, right? And that is what he's saying. This line is very important. We have to try and understand when he's talking about something that is going to be repeated, and in here we can see that these transactions are going to be repeated, right? For a single car, we are going to have multiple transactions. That's the impression that this line is giving, and this is very important to figure out. Okay, so for each car we'll have a list of all the hires. Okay, and the impression that we are getting is that he's not interested in customer data up till now. He's interested only in this data, right? Data related to hire, right? And also he has said that this report is going to output the total number of hires. So in our example, what we see here is this car has been hired 3 times, right? This car has been hired 3 times. So for our example, if this was car number 123, 3 would be the total number of hires, right, for car number 123. And remember, this report is going to include data for many cars, right? Data for many cars. So we have car number 123. We might have car number 1 to 4 in the showroom also, 1 to 5 in the showroom also, car number 1 to 6 in the showroom also. Data about all of these cars is going to be published in the car report. So that's the focus. What data is going to be published? Okay, let's go further. let's see what other information has been provided in the question, and this information you should process it very carefully. All the information in the question statement needs to be processed very carefully, because based on this information we are going to be drawing our data structure diagram. Okay, this information says what? This information says that a car with 0 hires is not going to be included in the report, which means what? If a car has 0 hires, its data is not going to be included in the report. So we are not going to have, so for example, what if the so we are not going to include this report, this car, we are not going to include this car which has not been hired even once in our report, which basically means what? There is a choice here, right? We are making a decision, and the decision is that if a car has no hires, then we are not going to proceed further. This is not going to be included in our car report. But if a car has 1 or more hires, then this car is going to be included in our car report. So this is an if situation. This is an if situation, and remember, whenever we have an if situation, to indicate that we have reached this point through an if situation, we are going to draw a circle here. A circle indicates when we have a choice, when we have to do, let's say, 1 out of 2 things, or 1 out of 3 things, or 1 out of 4 things, right? In this case, a car with 0 hires will not be included in the report. So the other way of saying this is that if a car has 0 hires, then we are not going to include this in our report. So if a car has 0 hires, and if a car has more than 1 hire, then we are going to include this in our report. So that information has been provided. Okay, so let's start filling our car report. Okay, remember, our focus is data that is going to be displayed. So in a car report, data about one car is going to be displayed, or multiple cars is going to be displayed? Data about multiple cars is going to be displayed. So we're going to have repetition here. Data about multiple cars is going to be displayed. First, a report about car number 1 to 3. Then this report will also publish data about car number 1 to 4. So we are going to have the data about multiple cars that is going to be displayed in the car report. So this is in general, this is in general, a car report is going to include data about multiple cars. Now, as far as publishing data is concerned, as far as displaying data is concerned, we have a choice. If we have no hires, if a car has not been hired, then we are going to output, we are not going to display the car report, right? So if no hires, then and we can say no hire, right? If no hire, then we are not going to proceed further with this box. This is where this data structure diagram stops, right? When we reach this point, this is where it stops. But if we have 1 or more hires, so here what we are going to say, if car has been hired, right? So we can say hired car, right? For hired car which has at least been hired 1 or more times, this is the path that we are going to take. Okay, so this is a selection statement, right? We are making a choice here, and the choice is, if we go this way, then we are not going to move further with the report. But if we go this way, if a car has been hired, then its data is going to be published. Okay, so now data about a hired car is going to be published. What kind of data is going to be published about a hired car, right? We just discussed this, right? For a hired car, the following data is going to be displayed: the car data, the car registration number, basically, right? How many times is the car data needed to be published? Do we need to publish for a single hire, right? For a single car. Now so what we are trying to elaborate on is, when a car gets hired, what data about that car is going to be output? Well, one of the data that is going to be output is going to be the car registration number. Now, what you want to think is that when this car gets hired, do we need to output this car registration number in our report multiple times, or are we going to enter it one times? Can we have something like this? Would this make sense? car registration number 123 was hired 3 times. So total number of hires was 3, right? And then we can just give the dates, the date on which this car got hired, 1/1/2017, and it got hired for 4 days, and then 4/1/2017 this car got hired for 2 days. Then let's say 17/1/2017 this car got hired for 3 days, right? So this car got hired for 3 days. So this is the kind of information, right, that we'll have to display multiple times, right? But this information needs to be included once on the report only. So we are going to say that the car registration number is going to be output once only, right? It's going to be output once only. That's what is needed, right? And then the total number of days for which this car was hired needs to be output once also, right? So we're going to say number of times that car hired, right? Number of times hired, right? Number of times that this car was hired, right? So this needs to be displayed once only, right? And it's always good to have sample data to think about, what is going to be output one time and what is going to be output multiple times. But how about this piece of information? How about this piece of information? How about the information related to, which date the car was hired on and for how many days it was hired on? We're going to have several of these, right? Because several transactions could have taken place. So the hire list will include several of these hire transactions, right? So for this car which was hired this many number of times, we are going to have multiple instances of these, right? Okay. And what information are we storing here as far as this hire is concerned? We are storing, so we're not storing, so I'm sorry, what information is going to be displayed, right? What information is going to be displayed multiple times, right? We are going to display the date of hire and we're going to display the date of hire and the number of hire days, right? How many days was the car hired for? So number of hire days, okay? And both of these are going to be, so we're going to have multiple values of these. So this is going to be repeated, right? This is going to be repeated, right? So this date is going to appear multiple times for a single car, right? Remember, this is what we said. This is a single car for which we are going to show our car registration number once in the report. For this single car, we are going to show the number of times this car got hired once in the report. However, the date on which the car got hired and the number of days for which the car got hired, we are going to have multiple values of these, right, in our report. So that is why they have been shown here with a steric sign. I hope you understand how this works.